Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Understanding Business 2024, Chapter 5, narrated by Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. Part 2, Business Owners. HIP, Starting a Small Business. 5. How to Form a Business. Page 114, Learning Objectives. After you have read and studied this chapter, you should be able to LO5-1, compare the advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorships. LO5-2, describe the differences between general and limited partners and compare the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships. LO5-3, compare the advantages and disadvantages of corporations and summarize the differences among C, corporations, S corporations, and limited liability companies. LO5-4, define and give examples of 3 types of corporate mergers and explain the role of leveraged buyouts and taking a firm private. LO5-5, outline the advantages and disadvantages of franchises and discuss the opportunities for diversity in franchising and the challenges of global franchising. LO5-6, explain the role of cooperatives. Page 115. Getting to know Peter Cancro, founder and CEO of Jersey Mike's Subs. From major battles in the Revolutionary War to the inventions of Thomas Edison to the music of Whitney Houston, few American states have a richer history than New Jersey. For Peter Cancro, there's another thing that deserves to stand alongside these landmarks of Jersey culture: the submarine sandwich. Some foods just become linked with a region, said Cancro. The sub sandwich is a way of life here in New Jersey. As the founder of Jersey Mike's Subs, these sandwiches have been a major part of Cancro's way of life for more than 50 years. Starting out as an employee at a small sub shop on the Jersey Shore, he eventually bought the shop and expanded the brand to more than 2,400 locations across the nation. Altogether, this franchise empire earns well over $1 billion in annual sales. Cancro never dreamed that sandwiches could bring in so much money when he first got a job at Mike's Subs in 1971. Although Cancro was only 14 years old when he started, the 2 brothers who owned the shop treated him like an adult from day one. Not only did this make Cancro feel like a colleague rather than a kid, but it also helped him adapt to the pressure of the perpetually packed store. The prime beachside location of Mike's Subs ensured that customers kept the place busy all day long. We probably made 1,000 subs a day in that 1,000 square foot store, said Cancro. It did what would be $40,000 a week in today's dollars. With so many people coming and going, he learned how to assemble sandwiches quickly while also making friendly conversations with waiting customers. After working at Mike's Subs for 3 years, Cancro heard about an opportunity that would change his life forever. One night, my mother said, "Mike's is for sale. Why don't you buy it?" said Cancro. I laughed, went up 1 flight of stairs, and by the time I reached the top, I decided to do it. Although the owners accepted his offer to buy the place, they told the teenage Cancro that he would need to raise $125,000, about $750,000 in today's dollars, in a few days, or else they'd go with another buyer. He immediately began knocking on doors asking for cash. One person offered to finance 100% of the venture if they and Cancro became partners. I knew the amount of work involved in running the store and wanted to own it outright, so I said no, said Cancro. His break finally came when he contacted his old football coach, who also happened to be a banker, with the coach's help. Cancro secured a loan to buy Mike's Subs as a sole proprietor. Customers started to ask Cancro if he ever considered opening a location outside of his home state. After all, many of his customers only visited New Jersey in the summer, so Cancro began to research the possible benefits of franchising. Although he bought the sub shop as a sole proprietor, he learned how franchising could provide a big boost to established businesses such as his. The first franchise of his newly named Jersey Mike's subs opened in 1987, followed by dozens more in the next 4 years. Then the company expansion hit a snag in 1991 as the U.S. economy slid into a recession and sales shot downward. Faced with the prospect of bankruptcy, he spent the next year making in-person visits to every location as he set the business back on course for success. I learned to slow down and not overspend, said Cancro. In the beginning, I went charging up the hill. Now I look around the hill and plan first before expanding. This attitude served Jersey Mike's well as it grew significantly in the decades that followed. Still, the company continued to face problems, even as its number of locations increased into the thousands. Faced with the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, Cancro decided to make some big investments. While many other food brands were reluctant to spend, Jersey Mike's put $175 million into a remodeling program that installed new floors, counters, and tile in stores, an action that moved some franchisees to tears. The company also greatly expanded its capacity for digital orders, which turned out to be a goldmine in a post-pandemic world. While online business accounted for just 15% of sales before 2020, digital orders now make up 40% of Jersey's Mike's sales. For us, it was an important tactical move that paid tremendous dividends, said Cancro. It always comes back. Whatever you invest in your stores, people see it. Just like Peter Cancro, all business owners must decide for themselves which form of business is best for them. Whether you dream of starting a business for yourself, going into business with a partner, forming a corporation, or someday being a leading franchisor, it's important to know that each form of ownership has its advantages and disadvantages. You will learn about them all in this chapter. Christopher Lane, Contour Getty Images, sources, Britta Lochting, The Secret to Jersey Mike's Increasing Popularity, Danny DeVito, and the Special Olympics are only half of it. Entrepreneur.com, January 10th, 2023. Heather Lally, for Peter Cancro, doing good is the secret to fueling Jersey Mike's growth. Restaurantbusiness.com, January 27th, 2022. Dina Eng, how the founder of Jersey Mike's turned one sandwich shop into a billion-dollar business. Fortune.com, March 16th, 2020. Nicholas Upton, how Jersey Mike's powdered through COVID. Franchisetimes.com, October 1st, 2021. Jersey Mike's subs, entrepreneur.com, accessed March 2023. Jersey Mike's subs, jerseymikes.com, accessed March 2023. Page 116. When this company made a deal to buy Office Depot, a judge ruled that the merger would mean diminished competition and higher prices for consumers. Name that company. Find the answer in the chapter. Basic forms of business ownership. Hundreds of thousands of people have started new businesses in the United States. In fact, approximately 400,000 are started each year. Chances are you've thought of owning your own business or know someone who has. McGraw-Hill Connect. I see it. Need help understanding forms of business ownership? Click on the video for a brief animated explanation.
Qian is a natural when it comes to dogs. They love her, and the feeling is mutual. So she decides to start up a dog walking service in her neighborhood. Within a few weeks, she's got a lot of happy customers. Qian Unleashed is considered a sole proprietorship, which has certain advantages. Qian makes her own hours and is her own boss. The downside is she's also doing all the work, from buying supplies to scheduling to collecting payment. She's a one-woman show, and if anything were to go wrong, her liability is unlimited. If she were sued for damages and lost, she could lose most of her personal assets. Soon, Qian's got more doggy customers than she can handle, so she decides to form a general partnership with her friend Sean. Now, Qian Unleashed can walk twice as many dogs, but she'll have to share the profits and decision-making duties. A general partnership also has unlimited liability, so if something happens on Sean's watch, both of them are legally and financially liable. Qian and Sean recently opened a retail store so they can provide additional services like grooming and boarding. The goal is to expand all over the country within the next 5 years. They've decided to form a corporation, which offers limited liability. This means that Qian and Sean are only liable for the amount they invest in the business. Their personal assets are protected. With her new team in place, Qian even has time to take a vacation once in a while. Now that's something to wag about.
How you form your business can make a tremendous difference in your long-term success. The 3 major forms of business ownership are 1. Sole proprietorships, 2. Partnerships, and 3. Corporations. Each has advantages and disadvantages that we'll discuss. A business owned and usually managed by one person is called a sole proprietorship. Many people who do not have the money, time, or desire to run a business on their own, when 2 or more people legally agree to become owners of a business, the organization is called a partnership. Sole proprietorships and partnerships are relatively easy to form, but there are advantages to creating a business that is separate and distinct from the owners. This is a corporation, a legal entity with authority to act and have liability apart from its owners. The almost 5 million corporations in the United States make up only 20% of all businesses, but they earn 81% of total U.S. business receipts. See Figure 5.1. Figure 5.1, Forms of Business Ownership. Although corporations make up only 20% of the total number of businesses, they earn 81% of the total receipts. Sole proprietorships are the most common form, 72%, but they earn only 6% of the receipts.
Yeah, I would try to get an early morning flight on the Friday before spring break, so that way I won't miss 2 classes. Because I would only miss math and English and application. And those two, so if I took an early morning flight.
Keep in mind that just because a business starts in one form of ownership, it does not have to stay in that form. Many companies start out in one form, then add or drop a partner or 2, and eventually become corporations, limited liability companies, or franchisers. Let's begin our discussion by looking at the most basic form of ownership, the sole proprietorship.
This is just, I just made this.
Page 117, Sole Proprietorships, LO5-1. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorships. Advantages of sole proprietorships. Sole proprietorships are the easiest kind of businesses to explore in your quest for an interesting career. Every town has sole proprietors you can visit and talk with about the joys and frustrations of being in business on their own. Most will mention the benefits of being their own boss and setting their own hours. Other advantages include 1. Ease of starting and ending the business. All you have to do to start a sole proprietorship is buy or lease the needed equipment, a saw, a laptop, a tractor, a lawnmower, and put up some announcements saying you are in business. You may have to get a permit or license from the local government. But that usually is not difficult. It is just as easy to get out of business. You simply stop. There is no one to consult or disagree with about such decisions.
But I've got, we're using Bunsen burners.
2. Ability to be your own boss. Working for others simply does not have the same excitement as working for yourself. At least that's the way sole proprietors feel. You may make mistakes, but they are your mistakes, and so are the many small victories each day. 3. Pride of ownership. People who own and manage their own businesses are rightfully proud of their work. They deserve all the credit for taking the risk and providing needed goods or services. 4. Leaving a legacy. Owners can leave an ongoing business for future generations. 5. Retention of company profits. Owners not only keep the profits earned, but also benefit from the increasing value of the business grows as the business grows. 6. No special taxes. All the profits of a sole proprietorship are taxed as the personal income of the owner, and the owner pays the normal income tax on that money. However, owners do have to pay the self-employment tax for Social Security and Medicare. They also have to estimate their taxes and make quarterly payments to the government or suffer penalties for non-payment. Jimmy Donaldson, better known as Mr. Beast, started making videos on YouTube when he was 13 years old. Now in his 20s, with more than 150 million subscribers, Mr. Beast operates several successful channels across YouTube, as well as a burger chain and philanthropic organizations that have raised millions of dollars for environmental causes. Do you have a passion you would like to pursue as a business? Disadvantages of sole proprietorships. Not everyone is equipped to own and manage a business. Often, it is difficult to save enough money to start a business and keep it going. The cost of inventory, supplies, insurance, advertising, rent, computers, utilities, and so on may be too much to cover alone. There are other disadvantages. 1. Unlimited liability, the risk of personal losses. Page 118. Number 1. Unlimited liability, the risk of personal losses. When you work for others, it is their problem if the business is not profitable. When you own your own business, you and the business are considered one. You have unlimited liability. That is, any debts or damages incurred by the business are your debts, and you must pay them, even if it means selling your home, your car, or whatever else you own. This is a serious risk, and undertaking it requires not only thought, but also discussion with a lawyer, an insurance agent, an accountant, and others. 2. Limited financial resources. Funds available to the business are limited to what the one owner can gather. Since there are serious limits to how much money one person can raise, partnerships and corporations have a greater probability of obtaining the financial backing needed to start and equip a business and keep it going. Three, management difficulties. All businesses need management. Someone must keep inventory, accounting, and tax records. Many people skilled at selling things or providing a service are not so skilled at keeping records. Sole proprietors often find it difficult to attract qualified employees to help run the business, because often they cannot compete with the salary and benefits offered by larger companies. 4. Overwhelming time commitment. Though sole proprietors say they set their own hours, it's hard to own a business, manage it, train people, and have time for anything else in life when there is no one with whom to share the burden. The owner of a store, for example, may put in 12 hours a day, at least 6 days a week, almost twice the hours worked by a non-supervisory employee in a large company. Imagine how this time commitment affects the sole proprietor's family life. Many sole proprietors will tell you it's not a job, it's not a career, it's a way of life. 5. Few fringe benefits. If you are your own boss, you lose the fringe benefits that often come with working for others. You have no paid health insurance, no paid disability insurance, no pension plan, no sick leave, and no vacation pay. These and other benefits may add up to 30% or more of a worker's compensation. 6. Limited growth. Expansion is often slow since a sole proprietorship relies on its owner for most of its creativity, business know-how, and funding. 7. Limited lifespan. If the sole proprietor dies, is incapacitated, or retires, the business no longer exists unless it is sold or taken over by the sole proprietor's heirs. Being the sole proprietor of a company like a food truck means making a major time commitment to run the business, including constantly seeking out new customers and looking for reliable employees when the time comes to grow. If you were a sole proprietor, what would you need to do if you wanted to take a week's vacation? Talk with a few local sole proprietors about the problems they faced in being on their own. They are likely to have many interesting stories about problems getting loans from the bank, problems with theft, and problems simply keeping up with the business. These are reasons why many sole proprietors choose to find partners to share the load. Test prep. Most people who start businesses in the United States are sole proprietors. What are the advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorships? Why would unlimited liability be considered a major drawback to sole proprietorships? Partnerships, LO 5-2. Describe the differences between general and limited partners and compare the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships. A partnership is a legal form of business with two or more owners. There are several types: 1, general partnerships; 2, limited partnerships; and 3, master limited partnerships. In a general partnership, all owners share in operating the business and in assuming liability for the business debts. A limited partnership has one or more general partners and one or more limited partners. A general partner is an partner who has unlimited liability and is active in managing the firm. Every partnership must have at least one general partner. A limited partner is an owner who invests money in the business but does not have any management responsibility or liability for losses beyond their investment. Limited liability means that the limited partner's liability for the debts of the business is limited to the amount they put into the company. Their personal assets are not at risk. Page 119. Husband and wife team Stephen Sashin and Lena Phoenix took inspiration from their love of running and hiking to found Xero Shoes, a minimalist footwear company that designs sleek shoes contoured to hold the human foot. What do you think are some potential advantages and disadvantages of becoming business partners with a spouse or a family member? One form of partnerships, the Master Limited Partnership (MLP), looks much like corporation, which we discuss next, in that it acts like a corporation and is traded on the stock exchanges like a corporation, but is taxed like a partnership and thus avoids the corporate income tax. Master limited partnerships are limited to the oil, real estate, and gas industries. For example, Sunoco Incorporated formed the MLP Sunoco Logistics Partners SXL to acquire, own, and operate a group of crude oil and refined product pipelines and storage facilities. Income received by SXL is not taxed before it is passed on to investors as dividends, as it would be if SXL were a corporation. Another type of partnership was created to limit the disadvantage of unlimited liability. A limited liability partnership LLP limits partners' risk of losing their personal assets to the outcomes of only their own acts and omissions and those of people under their supervision. If you are a limited partner in an LLP, you can operate without the fear that one of your partners might commit an act of malpractice, resulting in a judgment that takes away your house, car, retirement plan, even your collection of vintage Star Wars action figures, as would be the case in a general partnership. However, in many states, this personal protection does not extend to contract liabilities such as bank loans, leases, and business debt. The partnership takes on loss of personal assets is still a risk if these are not paid. In states without additional contract liability protections for LLPs, the LLP is in many ways similar to an LLC, discussed later in the chapter. All states except Louisiana have adopted the Uniform Partnership Act, UPA, to replace earlier laws governing partnerships. The UPA defines the three key elements of any general partnership as 1. Common ownership, 2. Shared profits and losses, and 3. The right to participate in managing the operations of the business. Advantages of partnerships. Often it is much easier to own and manage a business with one or more partners. Your partner may be skilled at inventory control and accounting while you do the selling or servicing. A partner can also provide additional money, support, and expertise, as well as cover for you when you are sick or on vacation. Figure 5.2 suggests several questions to ask yourself when choosing a partner. Figure 5.2 questions to ask when choosing a business partner. Do you share the same goals? Do you share the same vision for the company's future? What skills does the person have? Are those skills the same as yours, or do they complement your skills? What contacts, resources, or special attributes will the person bring to the business? What type of decision maker is the person? Is this someone with whom you could happily share authority for all major business decisions? Do you trust each other? How does the person respond to adversity? Do they try to solve the problem or try to defend their ego? Can the person accept constructive criticism without getting defensive? To what extent can you build fun and excitement into the partnership? There's no such thing as a perfect partner, but you should share some common thoughts on the business. Ask yourself. Partnerships usually have the following advantages. 1. More financial resources. When 2 or more people pool their money and credit, it is easier to pay the rent, utilities, and other bills incurred by a business. A limited partnership is specially designed to help raise money. As mentioned earlier, a limited partner invests money in the business but cannot legally have management responsibility and has limited liability. 2. Shared management and pooled complementary skills and knowledge. It is simply much easier to manage the day-to-day activities of a business with carefully chosen partners. Partners give each other free time from the business and provide different skills and perspectives. Some people find that the best partner is a spouse. Many spousal teams manage restaurants, service shops, and other businesses. 3. Longer survival. Partnerships are more likely to succeed than sole proprietorships, because being watched by a partner can help a business person become more disciplined. 4. No special taxes. As with sole proprietorships, all profits of partnerships are taxed as the personal income of the owners,
who pay the normal income tax on that money. Similarly, partners must estimate their taxes and make quarterly payments or suffer penalties for non-payment. Page 120. Disadvantages of partnerships. Anytime two people must agree, conflict and tensions are possible. Partnerships have caused splits between relatives, friends, and spouses. Let's explore the disadvantages of partnerships. 1. Unlimited liability. Each general partner is liable for the debts of the firm, no matter who is responsible for causing them. You are liable for your partner's mistakes as well as your own. Like sole proprietors, general partners can lose their homes, cars, and everything else they own if the business loses a lawsuit or goes bankrupt. 2. Division of profits. Sharing risk means sharing profits, and that can cause conflicts. There is no system for dividing profits in a partnership, and they are not always divided evenly. For example, if one partner puts in more money and the other puts in more hours, each may feel justified in asking for bigger share of the profits. 3. Disagreements among partners. Disagreements over money are just one example of potential conflict in a partnership. Who has final authority over employees? Who hires and fires employees? Who works what hours? What if one partner wants to buy expensive equipment for the firm and the other partner disagrees? All terms of the partnership should be spelled out in writing to protect all parties and minimize misunderstandings. The Making Ethical Decisions box offers an example of a difference of opinions between partners. 4. Difficulty of termination. Once you have committed yourself to a partnership, it is not easy to get out of it. Sure, you can just quit. However, questions about who gets what and what happens next are often difficult to resolve when the partnership ends. Surprisingly, law firms often have faulty partnership agreements and find that breaking up is hard to do. How do you get rid of a partner you don't like? It is best to decide such questions up front in the partnership agreement. Figure 5.3 gives you ideas about what to include in partnership agreements. Page 121, Figure 5.3, How to form a partnership. It is not hard to form a partnership, but it's wise for each prospective partner to get the counsel of a lawyer experienced with such agreements. Lawyers' services are usually expensive, so would-be partners should read all about partnerships and reach some basic agreements before calling a lawyer. For your protection, be sure to put your partnership agreement in writing. The Model Business Corporation Act recommends including the following in a written partnership agreement. The name of the business. Many states require the firm's name to be registered with state and or county officials if the firm's name is different from the name of any of the partners. The names and addresses of all partners, the purpose and nature of the business, the location of the principal offices, and any other locations where business will be conducted. The date the partnership will start and how long it will last. Will it exist for a specific length of time, or will it stop when one of the partners dies or when the partners agree to discontinue? The contributions made by each partner. Will some partners contribute money while others provide real estate, personal property, expertise, or labor? When are the contributions due? The management responsibilities. Will all partners have equal voices in management, or will there be senior and junior partners? The duties of each partner. The salaries and drawing accounts of each partner. Provision for sharing of profits or losses. Provision for accounting procedures. Who will keep the accounts? What bookkeeping and account methods will be used? Where will the books be kept? The requirements for taking in new partners. Any special restrictions, rights, or duties of any partner. Provision for a retiring partner. Provision for a retiring partner. Provision for the purchase of a deceased or retiring partner's share of the business. Provision for how grievances will be handled. Provision for how to dissolve the partnership and distribute the assets of Provision for how to dissolve the partnership and distribute the assets to the partners. AHA Soft Shuttershock. The best way to learn about the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships is to interview several people who have experience with them. They will give you insights and hints on how to avoid problems. One fear of owning your business or having a partner is the fear of losing everything you own if someone sues the business or it loses a lot of money. Many business people try to avoid this and the other disadvantages of sole proprietorships and partnerships by forming corporations. We discuss this basic form of business ownership in the following section. Page 122. Making ethical decisions. Good business, bad karma. Imagine that you and your partner own a construction company. You receive a bid from a subcontractor that you know is 20% too low. Such a loss to the subcontractor could put them out of business. Accepting the bid will certainly improve your chances of winning the contract for a big shopping center project. Your partner wants to take the bid and let the subcontractor suffer the consequences of the bad estimate. What do you think you should do? What will be the consequences of your decision? Test prep. What is the difference between a limited partner and a general partner? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships? Corporations. LO 5-3. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of corporations and summarize the differences among C corporations, S corporations, and limited liability companies. Many corporations like General Electric, Microsoft, and Walmart are big and contribute substantially to the U.S. economy. However, it's not necessary to be big to incorporate. Incorporating may be beneficial for small businesses as well. A conventional C corporation is a state-chartered legal entity with authority to act and have liabilities separate from its owners, its stockholders. Stockholders are not liable for the debts or other problems of the corporation beyond the money they invest in it by buying ownerships, shares, or stock in the company. They don't have to worry about losing their house, car, or other property because of some business problem. A significant benefit. A corporation not only limits the liability of owners, but often enables many people to share in the ownership and profits of a business without working there or having other commitments to it. Corporations may choose whether to offer ownership to outside investors or remain privately held. We discuss stocks in depth in Chapter 19. Figure 5.4 describes various types of corporations. Figure 5.4 Corporate types. Corporations can't fit in more than one category. You may find some confusing types of corporations when reading about them. Here are a few of the more widely used terms. Alien corporations do business in the United States but are chartered incorporated in another country. Domestic corporations do business in the state in which they are chartered incorporated. Foreign corporations do business in one state but are chartered in another. About 1/3 of all corporations are chartered in Delaware because of its relatively attractive rules for incorporation. A foreign corporation must register in states where it operates. Closed. Private corporations have stock that is held by a few people and isn't available to the general public. Open. Public corporations sell stock to the general public. General Motors and ExxonMobil are examples of public corporations. Quasi-public corporations are chartered by the government as an approved monopoly to perform services to the general public. Public utilities are examples of quasi-public corporations. Professional corporations are owned by those who offer professional services, doctors, lawyers, etc. Shares in professional corporations aren't publicly traded. Non-profit or not-for-profit corporations do not seek personal profit for their owners. Non-profit or not-for-profit corporations don't seek personal profit for their owners. Multinational corporations operate in several countries. Advantages of corporations. Most people are not willing to risk everything to go into business, yet for a business to grow, prosper, and create economic opportunity, many people have to be willing to invest money in it. One way to solve this problem is to create an artificial being, an entity that exists only in the eyes of the law, a corporation. Let's explore some of the advantages of corporations. 1. Limited liability. Page 123. 1. Limited liability. A major advantage of corporations is the limited liability of their owners. Remember, limited liability means that the owners of a business are responsible for its losses only up to the amount they invest in it. 2. Ability to raise money. 2. Ability to raise more money for investment. 2. Ability to raise 2. Ability to raise Jesus.
Same as conventional corporation, may be difficult depending upon operating agreement. Length of life terminates on the death of owner, terminates on the death or withdrawal of partner. Same as general partnership. Perpetual life, same as conventional corporation, varies according to dissolution dates and articles of organization. Transfer of ownership. Business can be sold to qualified buyer. Must have other partners agreement, same as general partnership. Easy to change owners, just sell stock. Can sell stock, but with restrictions. Can't sell stock. Financial resources, limited to owners' capital and loans. Limited to partners' capital and loans, same as general partnership. More money to start and operate. May sell stocks and bonds, same as conventional corporation, same as partnership. Risk of losses, unlimited liability, limited liability. Taxes, taxed as personal income, taxed as personal income. Same as general partnership, corporate double taxation, taxed as personal income, varies. Management responsibilities, owner manages all areas of the business. Partners share management, can't participate in management, separate management from ownership. Same as conventional corporation, varies. Employee benefits, usually fewer benefits and lower wages. Often fewer benefits and lower wages. Promising employee could become a partner, same as general partnership, usually better benefits and wages. Advancement opportunities, same as conventional corporation, varies but are not tax deductible. Page 129, test prep. What are the major advantages and disadvantages of incorporating a business? What is the role of owners, stockholders in the corporate hierarchy? If you buy stock in a corporation and someone gets injured by one of the corporation's products, can you be sued? Why or why not? Why are so many new businesses choosing a limited liability company, LLC, form of corporate expansion, mergers, and acquisitions? LO 5-4. Define and give examples of 3 types of corporate mergers and explain the role of leveraged buyouts and taking a firm private. What's the difference between mergers and acquisitions? A merger is the result of 2 firms joining to form one company. It is similar to a marriage, joining 2 individuals as one family. An acquisition is one company's purchase of the property and obligations of another company. It is more like buying a house than entering a marriage. There are 3 major types of corporate mergers: vertical, horizontal, and conglomerate. A vertical merger joins 2 firms operating in different stages of related business. A merger between a soft drink company and an artificial sweetener maker would ensure the merged firm a constant supply of an ingredient the soft drink manufacturer needs. It could also help ensure quality control of the soft drink company's products. A horizontal merger joins two firms in the same industry and allows them to diversify or expand their products. A soft drink company and a mineral water company that merge can now supply a variety of beverage products. A conglomerate merger unites firms in completely unrelated industries in order to diversify business operations and investments. A soft drink company and a snack food company would form a conglomerate merger. Figure 5.8 illustrates the differences among the three types of mergers. Figure 5.8 types of mergers. Soft drink company buys mineral water company equals horizontal merger companies in same industry. Soft drink company buys artificial sweetener company equals vertical merger companies in different stages in related industries. Soft drink company buys snack food company equals conglomerate merger companies in unrelated industries. Mergers between large competitors must prove to the Federal Trade Commission (FTC) that the new combined company does not limit competition unfairly. For example, in 2016, Staples and Office Depot had to abandon their plans to merge when a judge ruled that the merger would mean diminished competition and higher prices for large national businesses that buy office supplies in bulk, citing changes to the retail landscape due to growth of online competitors. Staples tried again to purchase Office Depot's consumer division in 2021, but Office Depot finally decided to stay independent and rejected the offer. In 2023, the FTC sued to stop Microsoft's $70 billion bid to buy game maker Activision Blizzard over concern that it could make some of the world's most popular games, like Call of Duty, exclusive to its Xbox consoles. Even if the FTC eventually approves the deal, there are more than a dozen other countries still reviewing the acquisition. Rather than merge or sell to another company, some corporations decide to maintain or, in some cases, regain control of a firm internally. By taking a firm private, management or a group of stockholders obtains all the firm's stock for themselves by buying it back from the other stockholders. Arts and crafts retailer Michaels is an example of a firm that has been taken private. Page 130. Suppose employees believe they may lose their jobs, or managers believe they could improve corporate performance if they owned the company. Does either group have an opportunity of taking ownership of the company? Yes. They might attempt a leveraged buyout. A leveraged buyout, LBO, is an attempt by employees, management, or a group of private investors to buy out the stockholders in a company primarily by borrowing the necessary funds. The employees, managers, or investors now become the owner of the firm. LBOs have ranged in size from $50 million to $34 billion and have involved everything from small family businesses to giant corporations like Hertz Corporation, the former Toys R Us, Chrysler, and the former RJR Nabisco. Pictorial Press Ltd, Alamy, stock photo, SKEG by Dave, Getty Images. In 2022, Discovery Incorporated acquired Warner Media from AT&T for $43 billion to create Warner Brothers Discovery, which controls dozens of TV networks as well as entertainment franchises like Batman and Harry Potter. What type of merger is this? Vertical, horizontal, and conglomerate? What type of merger is this? Vertical, horizontal, or conglomerate? Business acquisitions are not limited to U.S. buyers. Foreign companies have found the fastest way to grow is often to buy an established operation that can enhance their technology or expand the number of brands they offer. Belgium's InBev purchased the largest U.S. brewer, Anheuser-Busch, and its Budweiser and Bud Light brands for $52 billion. The German drug company Bayer paid $63 billion to take control of agrochemical company Monsanto. Page 131. Franchises, LO 5-5. Outline the advantages and disadvantages of franchises and discuss the opportunities for diversity in franchising and the challenges of global franchising. In addition to the three basic forms of business ownership, there are two special forms, franchises and cooperatives. Let's look at franchises first. A franchise agreement is an arrangement whereby someone with a good idea for a business, the franchisor, sells the rights to use the business name and sell a product or service, the franchise to others, the franchisees in a given territory. Some people uncomfortable with the idea of starting their own business from scratch would rather join a business with a person. Some people uncomfortable with the idea of starting their own business from scratch would rather join a business with a proven track record through a franchise agreement. A franchise can be formed as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that more than 1 out of every 10 businesses in the United States is a franchise. Some of the best-known franchises are McDonald's, Jiffy Lube, 7-Eleven, Chick-fil-A, and the UPS Store. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the approximately 500,000 franchised businesses operating in the United States create 9.6 million jobs. The most popular businesses for franchising are restaurants, fast food, and full service. McDonald's, the largest restaurant chain in the United States in terms of sales, is often considered the gold standard of franchising. Health and fitness clubs, financial services, hotels and motels, and automotive centers are also popular franchised businesses. See Figure 5.9 for some tips on evaluating franchises. Figure 5.9. Buying a franchise. Since buying a franchise is a major investment, be sure to check out a company's financial strength before you get involved. Watch out for scams too. Scams called bust outs usually involve people coming to town, renting nice offices, taking out ads, and persuading people to invest. Then they disappear with the investors' money. For example, in San Francisco, a company called TBS Incorporated sold distributorships for in-home AIDS tests. It promised an enormous market and potential profits of $3,000 for an investment of less than $200. The test turned out to be nothing more than a mail-order questionnaire about lifestyle. A good source of information about evaluating a franchise deal is the Handbook Investigate Before Investing, available from International Franchise Association publications. Checklist for evaluating a franchise. The franchise. Did your lawyer approve the franchise contract you're considering after they studied it, paragraph by paragraph? Does the franchise give you an exclusive territory for the length of the franchise? Under what circumstances can you terminate the franchise contract, and at what cost to you? If you sell your franchise, will you be compensated for your goodwill, the value of your business's reputation, and other intangibles? If the franchisor sells the company, will your investment be protected? The franchisor, how many years has the firm offering you a franchise been in operation? Does it have a reputation for honesty and fair dealing among the local firms holding its franchise? Has the franchisor shown you any certified figures indicating exact net profits of one or more going firms that you personally checked yourself with the franchisee?
I put the garbage can in the door just to kind of like air it out. The previous teacher said she was sick.
Oh.
So
okay.
I started kind of feeling
She
it.
was sick?
Yeah, I also started feeling kind of nauseous when I came in here. So I
What do
just.
you mean sick? Like what she said she was sick with?
She just said she wasn't feeling well.
She was right.
Ask for the company's disclosure statements. Will the firm assist you with a management training program, an employee training program, a public relations program, capital, credit, merchandising ideas? Will the firm help you find a good location for your new business? Has the franchisor investigated you carefully enough to assure itself that you can successfully operate one of its franchisees at a profit both to itself and to you? You, the franchisee, how much equity capital will you need to purchase the franchise and operate it until your income equals your expenses? Does the franchisor offer financing for what a portion of the franchising fees? Does the franchisor offer financing for a portion of the franchising fees? On what terms? Are you prepared to give up some independence of action to secure the advantages offered by the franchise? Are you prepared to give up some independence of action to secure the advantages offered by the franchise? Do you have your family's support? Does the industry appeal to you? Are you ready to spend much or all of the remainder of your business life with this franchisor, offering its product or service to the public? Your market. Have you attempted to determine whether the product or service that you propose to sell under the franchise has a market in your territory at the prices you'll have to charge? Will the population in the territory given to you increase, remain static, or decrease over the next 5 years? Will demand for the product or service you're considering be greater, about the same, or less 5 years from now than it is today? What competition already exists in your territory for the product or service you contemplate selling? Sources: U.S. Department of Commerce Franchise Opportunities Handbook. Before diving into franchise ownership, you need to ask yourself this one question. Entrepreneur.com, February 22nd, 2023. Sean Peak, How to Choose the Right Franchise, Business News Daily, businessnewsdaily.com, February 21st, 2023. Photo courtesy of Card My Yard, www.cardmyyard.com. The festive company Card My Yard brightens up Americans' lawns with colorful messages that let the whole neighborhood know about someone's special occasion. Founded by Texas moms Amy Arnold and Jessica Stanley, within a few years, the partners decided to franchise Card My Yard after an outpouring of interest. The company now has more than 500 franchisees located across 45 states. What type of service franchise might appeal to you as a business owner? Advantages of franchising has penetrated every aspect of U.S. and global business life by offering products and services that are reliable, convenient, and competitively priced. Franchising clearly has some advantages. Page 132. 1. Management and marketing assistance. Compared with someone who starts a business from scratch, a franchisee usually has a much greater chance of succeeding because they have an established product to sell, help in choosing a location, and assistance in all phases of promotion and operation. It's like having your own store, but with full-time consultants when you need them. Franchisors usually provide intensive training. For example, McDonald's sends all new franchisees and managers to Hamburger University in Chicago, Illinois, and 6 other campuses worldwide. Some franchisors help their franchisees with local marketing efforts rather than having them depend solely on national advertising. Franchisees also have a network of fellow franchisees facing similar problems who can share their experiences. 2. Personal ownership. A franchise operation is still your business, and You enjoy as much of the incentives and profit as any sole proprietor would. You are still your own boss, although you must follow more rules, regulations, and procedures than with your own privately owned business. The spotlight on small business box features an example of a growing franchise that is attracting new franchisees. 3. Nationally recognized name. It is one thing to open a gift shop or an ice cream store. It is quite another to open a new Hallmark store or a Baskin Robbins. With an established franchise, you get instant recognition and support from a product group with established customers around the world. 4. Financial advice and assistance. Two major problems for small business owners are arranging financing and learning to keep good records. Franchisees often get valuable assistance and periodic advice from people with expertise in these areas. In fact, some franchisors, including Jiffy Lube and the UPS Store, provide financing to potential franchisees they feel will be valuable parts of the franchise system. 5. Lower failure rate. Historically, the failure rate for franchises has been lower than that of other business ventures. However, franchising has grown so rapidly that many weak franchises have entered the field, so you need to be careful and invest wisely. Page 133. Open spotlight on small business. Board and Brush Creative Studio, a fun instruction-based franchise. boardandbrush.com / Although you wouldn't want your local carpenter to combine woodworking with wine, it's a winning blend for hundreds of Board and Brush Creative Studio locations around the country. This franchise teaches the basics of carpentry to people of all skill levels so they can create personalized wood signs to use for gifts or to hang at home. No experience is required in these fun and laid-back workshops where customers can sip on a glass of wine or beer while creating their project. The cool thing is, you don't have to be crafty to be able to do this, said Kayla Skirvin, owner of a Board and Brush franchise in Mishawaka, Indiana. It's nice because it's handmade and there's that personal touch as well. You can say, I made this. Courtesy of Board and Brush Creative Studio. Franchisees like Skirvin cut wood planks and stencils and provide supplies like paint and stain so that customers have everything they need for their creations. Customers can choose from more than 800 designs ranging from rustic farmhouse themes to modern and contemporary pieces. Board and Brush considers instruction to be its most important service, walking clients through the steps of distressing, sanding, staining, peeling of the stencil, and painting. This commitment to transforming customers into DIY masters has expanded Board and Brush from a craft night held in founder Julie Selby's basement into a nationwide franchise with 260 plus locations. There's interaction with other people, said Wyoming-based franchisee Richard Brokaw. There's that creative process, and you're really walking away with something when you've been here for an evening. Sources: Will Carpenter. High demand leaves Board and Brush owners with their hands full. Wyoming Tribune. Eagle. WyomingNews.com. January 23rd, 2022. Miasha Lee. Couple brings Board and Brush Creative Studio to South Hadley. The Reminder.com. March 1, 2021. Annie Kate DIY stores and studios offer the chances to give from the heart, not the bank. ABC 57, ABC57.com, December 21st, 2022. Board and Brush Creative Studio, boardandbrush.com. Accessed March 2023. Disadvantages and franchises. There are, however, some potential pitfalls to franchising. Check out any franchise arrangement with present franchisees and discuss the idea with an attorney and an accountant. Disadvantages of franchises include the following. 1. Large startup costs. Most franchises demand a fee for the rights to the franchise. Startup costs for a cruise planner's franchise begin at $2,300. But if it's a Dunkin' franchise you're after, you'd better have a lot more dough, approximately $1.8 million. Large startup costs. Most franchises demand a fee for the rights to the franchise. Startup costs for a cruise planner's franchise begin at $2,300. But if it's a Dunkin' franchise you're after, you'd better have a lot more dough, approximately $1.8 million. 2. Shared profit. The franchisor often demands either a large share of the profits in addition to the startup fees or a percentage commission based on sales, not profit. This share is called a royalty. For example, if a franchisor demands a 10% royalty on a franchise's net sales, 10 cents of every dollar the franchisee collects before taxes and other expenses must be paid to the franchisor. 3. Management regulation. Management assistance has a way of becoming managerial orders, directives, and limitations. Franchisees feeling burdened by the company's rules and regulations may lose the drive to run their own business. Often franchisees will band together to resolve their grievances with franchisors rather than fighting their battles alone. For example, the KFC National Council and Advertising Cooperative, which represents all U.S. KFC franchisees, sued KFC to gain control of advertising strategies. The franchisees were angry over Yum Brands, owner of KFC, decision to implement an ad strategy that emphasized a shift to grilled chicken rather than fried chicken. The campaign centered around the slogan "Unthink KFC," which was exactly what customers did. Sales plummeted 7% that quarter, and franchisees had to throw away up to 50% of their grilled chicken supplies. Coattail effects. What happens to your franchise if fellow franchisees fail? The actions of other franchisees have an impact on your future growth and profitability. Due to this coattail effect, you could be forced out of business even if your particular franchise has been profitable. For example, the customer passion for high-flying franchisor Krispy Kreme sank as the market became flooded with new stores, and the availability of the product at retail locations caused overexposure. McDonald's and Subway franchisees complain that due to the company's relentless growth, some new stores have taken business away from existing locations, squeezing franchisees' profits per outlet. 5. Restrictions on selling. Unlike owners of private businesses, you can sell their companies to whomever they choose on their own terms. Many franchisees face restrictions on the resale of their franchises. To control quality, franchisors often insist on approving the new owner, who must meet their standards. 6. Fraudulent franchisors. Most franchisors are not large systems like McDonald's and Subway. Many are small, rather obscure companies that prospective franchisees may know little about. Most are honest, but complaints to the Federal Trade Commission have increased about franchisors that delivered little or nothing of what they promised. For example, new restaurant franchise Burger Rim grew from 0 to over 1,500 franchise licenses in just 4 years. Burger Rim grew from 0 to over 1,500 franchise licenses in just 4 years. Many of the franchisees were inexperienced and underfinanced. Unfortunately, when the company couldn't handle the growth, it collapsed and the owner fled the country, leaving franchisees with unfinished stores and heavy loan debt. Only 130
of the 1,500 licensed franchises actually opened. Before you buy a franchise, make certain you check out the facts fully and remember the old adage, you get what you pay for. Page 134. Diversity in franchising. A lingering issue in franchising is the number of women who own franchises. While women own about half of all U.S. companies and are opening businesses at double the rate of men, their ownership of franchises is only about 32%. However, that statistic doesn't tell the whole story. Female franchise ownership has grown significantly from only 24% a decade ago. Courtesy of Verlyn Gibbs Watson. At Nothing Bundt Cakes, customers can choose from 10 delicious flavors and 40 unique designs to create the cake of their dreams. Verlyn Gibbs Watson enjoyed her first taste of Bundt so much that she purchased a franchise in 2015, followed by more locations around Washington, D.C. and Baltimore in the years that followed. What is the appeal of the franchising, the opportunity, the entrepreneurs? What is the appeal of franchising to entrepreneurs like Verlyn Gibbs Watson? Women aren't just franchisees anymore. They're becoming franchisers as well. If they face difficulty getting financing for their growing businesses, turning to franchisees to help carry expansion costs can help. For example, top-rated franchise companies like Auntie Anne's, Decorating Den, and Build-A-Bear workshops were started by women. Franchisers are also becoming more focused on recruiting franchisees who are members of ethnic minority groups. Today, there are more than 4 million businesses owned by members of ethnic minority groups in operation, employing almost 5 million people and generating nearly $591 billion in annual revenue. These business owners started more than 50% of the 2 million new businesses in the United States in the last 10 years. In order to draw talented entrepreneurs like these to franchising, initiatives like Diversity Institute by the International Franchise Association work to build awareness of franchising opportunities within minority communities. In order to draw talented entrepreneurs like these to franchising, initiatives like Diversity Institute by the International Franchise Association work to build awareness of franchising opportunities within minority communities. The U.S. Commerce Department's Federal Minority Business Development Agency also provides aspiring minority business owners with training in how to run franchises. Some franchisers support minority ownership programs as well. For example, Dunkin' Brand's Diversity in Franchising initiative offers financing and development support to members of ethnic minority groups and military veterans. Page 135. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, approximately 31% of franchises are owned by minorities compared to less than 19% of non-franchised businesses. Franchising opportunities seem perfectly attuned to the needs of aspiring minority business people. Home-based businesses offer many obvious advantages, including relief from the stress of commuting, extra time for family activities, and low overhead expenses. One disadvantage is the feeling of isolation compared to home-based entrepreneurs. Home-based franchisees feel less isolated. Experienced franchisors often share their knowledge of building a profitable enterprise with other franchisees. Home-based franchises can be started for as little as $2,000. Today, you can be a franchisee in areas ranging from cleaning services to tax preparation, childcare, pet care, or cruise planning. Before investing in a home-based franchise, it is helpful to ask yourself the following questions. Are you willing to put in long hours? Can you work in a solitary environment? Are you motivated and well organized? Does your home have the space you need for the business? Can your home also be the place you work? It's also important to check out the franchisor carefully. E-commerce and franchising. The internet has changed franchising in many ways. Most brick-and-mortar franchises have expanded their businesses online and created virtual storefronts to deliver increased value to customers. Setting up a website is one of the best ways for a franchisee to increase sales quickly. However, many franchisors prohibit franchisee-sponsored websites because conflicts can erupt if the franchisor creates its own website. Sometimes franchisors send reverse royalties to franchisees who believe their sales were hurt by the franchisor's online sales. But that doesn't always bring about peace. Before buying a franchise, read the small print regarding online sales. Using technology in franchising, franchisors often use technology to extend their brands and meet the needs of both their customers and their franchisees. Use of technology in franchising includes franchise management, development, operations, training, social media, mobile pay, online delivery apps, marketing, and web-based point-of-sale systems. For example, Steve Mapes, a Happy Joe's Pizza franchisee, used digital advertising and social media to drive online orders and find new ways to engage with the brand's loyal restaurant guests. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he shared historical Happy Joe's photos and upbeat messaging and gave updates on changes related to the pandemic. The digital ordering system helped him better manage both online and in-store orders. He could manage inventory with the click of a button, and if a product sold out, the system automatically updated the online menu. Franchising in global markets. Franchising today is truly a global effort. U.S. franchisors are counting their profits in euros, won, pesos, won, krona, baht, yen, and many other currencies. McDonald's has more than 38,000 restaurants in over 100 countries, serving an estimated 68 million customers each day. Because of its proximity and shared language, Canada is the most popular target for U.S.-based franchises. Franchisors are finding it surprisingly easier now to move into China, South Africa, the Philippines, and the Middle East. Plus, it's not just the large franchises like Subway and Marriott hotels making the move. Newer, smaller franchises are going global as well. Auntie Anne's sells hand-rolled pretzels in more than 25 countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Venezuela. In 2005, 29-year-old Matthew Corin launched Freshie, a sandwich, salad, and soup restaurant with fresh, affordable food in trendy locations. There are already almost 400 Freshie locations in 16 countries. Page 136. Black and pink. Black double grilled onion. Pink salmon burger. Although Burger King is famous for the Whopper, the chain isn't afraid to stray from beef-based items in order to appeal to global tastes. For instance, the King sold the salmon burger shown here as a promotional item in Thailand. Do you think a sandwich like this would be successful with Burger King customers in the United States? What makes franchising successful? What makes franchising successful in global markets is what makes it successful in the United States. Convenience and a predictable level of service and quality. Franchisors, though,
must be careful and do their homework before entering into global franchise agreements. Three questions to ask before forming a global franchise are: will your intellectual property be protected? Can you give proper support to global partners? Are you able to adapt to franchise regulations in other countries? If the answer is yes to all three questions, global franchising creates great opportunities. It's also important to remember that adapting products and brand names to different countries creates challenges. In France, people thought a furniture stripping franchise called Dip and Strip was a bar that featured strippers. Just as McDonald's and Subway have exported golden arches and sub sandwiches worldwide, foreign franchises see the United States as a popular target. Japanese franchises like Kumon Learning Centers and Australian franchises like Cartridge World are very active in the United States. Other franchises are hoping to change our tastes here. Cooperatives LO 5-6. Explain the role of cooperatives. Some people dislike the notion of owners, managers, workers, and buyers being separate individuals with separate goals. So they have formed cooperatives, a different kind of organization to meet their needs for electricity, childcare, housing, healthcare, food, and financial services. A cooperative co-op is owned and controlled by the people who use it. Producers, consumers, or workers with similar needs who pool their resources for mutual gain. In many rural parts of the country, for example, the government sells wholesale power to electric cooperatives at rates 40 to 50% below the rates non-federal utilities charge. Electric cooperatives serve 42 million U.S. consumer members in 48 states. Worldwide, more than 1 billion people are members of cooperatives. Members democratically control these businesses by electing a board of directors that hires professional management. Some co-ops ask consumer members to work for a number of hours a month as part of their membership duties. You may have one of the country's 4,000 food co-ops near you. If so, stop by and chat to learn more about this growing aspect of the U.S. economy. If you are interested in knowing more cooperatives, visit the National Cooperative Business Association's website at ncba.coop. Another kind of cooperative in the United States is formed to give members more economic power as a group than they have as individuals. The best example is a farm cooperative. The goal at first was for farmers to join together to get better prices for their food products. Eventually, the idea expanded and farm cooperatives now buy and sell fertilizer, farm equipment, seed, and other products in a multi-billion-dollar industry. Cooperatives have an advantage in the marketplace because they don't pay the same kind of taxes corporations pay. Cooperatives are still a major force in agriculture and other industries today. Some top co-ops have familiar names such as Land O'Lakes, Sunkist Growers, Ocean Spray, Blue Diamond, Associated Press, Ace Hardware, Riceland Foods, and Welch's. Page 137. Which form of ownership is for you? You can build your own business in a variety of ways. You can start your own sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, LLC, or cooperative, or you can buy a franchise and be part of a larger corporation. There are advantages and disadvantages to each. Before you decide which form is for you, evaluate all the alternatives carefully. The miracle of free enterprise is that the freedom and incentives of capitalism make risks acceptable to many people who go on to create the great corporations of America. You know many of their names and companies: Steve Jobs, Apple Computer, Sam Walton, Walmart, Levi Strauss & Co., Henry Ford, Ford Motor Company, Thomas Edison, General Electric, Bill Gates, Microsoft, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Elon Musk, Tesla, Sheila Johnson, Black Entertainment Television, and so on. They started small, accumulated capital, grew and became industrial leaders. Could you do the same? Test prep. What are some of the factors to consider before buying a franchise? What opportunities are available for starting a global franchise? What is a cooperative? Summary. Low 5-1. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorships. What are the advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorships? The advantages of sole proprietorships include ease of starting and ending, ability to be your own boss, pride of worship, retention of profit, and no special taxes. The disadvantages include unlimited liability, limited financial resources, management difficulties, overwhelming the time commitment, few fringe benefits, limited growth, and limited lifespan. Low 5-2. Describe the differences between general and limited partners and compare the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships. What are the three key elements of a general partnership? The three key elements of a general partnership are common ownership, shared profits and losses, and the right to participate in managing the operations of the business. What are the main differences between general and limited partners? General partners are partners who have unlimited liability and are active in managing the company. Limited partners are partners who have limited liability and are not active in the company. What does unlimited liability mean? Unlimited liability means that sole proprietors and general partners must pay all debts and damages caused by their business. They may have to sell their houses, cars, or other personal possessions to pay business debts. What does limited liability mean? Limited liability means that corporate owners, stockholders, and limited partners are responsible for losses only up to the amount they invest. Their other personal property is not at risk. What is a master limited partnership? A master limited partnership is a partnership that acts like a corporation, but is taxed like a partnership. What are the advantages and disadvantages of partnerships? The advantages include more financial resources, shared management, and pooled complementary skills and knowledge, longer survival, and no special taxes. The disadvantages include unlimited liability, division of profits, disagreements among partners, and difficulty of termination. Page 138. LO 5-3. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of corporations and summarize the differences among C corporations, S corporations, and limited liability companies. What is the definition of a corporation? A corporation is a state-chartered legal entity with authority to act and have liability separate from its owners. What are the advantages and disadvantages of corporations? The advantages include limited liability, ability to raise more money for investment, size, perpetual life, ease of ownership change, ease of attracting talented employees, and separation of ownership from management. The disadvantages include initial cost, extensive paperwork, double taxation, 2 tax returns, size, difficulty of termination, and possible conflict with stockholders and board of directors. Why do people incorporate? Two important reasons for incorporating are special tax advantages and limited liability. What are the advantages of S corporations? S corporations have the advantages of limited liability like a corporation and simpler taxes like a partnership. To qualify for S corporation status, a company must have fewer than 100 stockholders. Members of a family count as one shareholder. Its stockholders must be individuals or estates and U.S. citizens or permanent residents. It must have only one class of stock, and the company cannot derive more than 25% of its income from passive sources. What are the advantages of limited liability companies? Limited liability companies have the advantage of limited liability, choice of being taxed as partnerships of corporations. Limited liability companies have the advantage of limited liability, choice of being taxed as partnerships or corporations, flexible ownership rules, flexible distribution of profits and losses, and operating flexibility. LO 5-4. Define and give examples of 3 types of corporate mergers and explain the role of leveraged buyouts and taking a firm private. What is a merger? A merger is the result of 2 firms forming one company. The 3 major types are vertical mergers, horizontal mergers, and conglomerate mergers. What are leveraged buyouts, and what does it mean to take a company private? Leveraged buyouts are attempts by managers and employees. Leveraged buyouts are attempts by managers and employees to borrow money and purchase the company. Individuals who, together or alone, buy all the stock for themselves are said to take the company private. LO 5-5 outline the advantages and disadvantages of franchises and discuss the opportunities for diversity in franchising and the challenges of global franchising. What is a franchise? A franchise is an arrangement to buy the rights to use the business name and sell its products or services in a given territory. What is a franchisee? A franchisee is a person who buys a franchise. What are the benefits and drawbacks of being a franchisee? The benefits include getting management and marketing assistance, the pride or personal ownership, a nationally recognized name, financial advice and assistance, and lower failure rate. The drawbacks include large startup costs, shared profit, management regulation, the coattail effects, restrictions on selling, and fraudulent franchisers. What is the major challenge to global franchisees? What is the major challenge to global franchises? It is often difficult to transfer an idea or product that worked well in the United States to another culture. It is essential to adapt to the region. Page 139. LO 5-6. Explain the role of cooperatives. What is the role of a cooperative? Cooperatives are organizations owned by consumer members. Some people form cooperatives to acquire more economic power than they would have as individuals. Small businesses often form cooperatives to gain more purchasing, marketing, or product development strength. Key terms: acquisition, conglomerate merger, conventional C corporation, cooperative, co-op, corporation, franchise, franchise agreement, franchisee, franchisor, general partner, general partnership, horizontal merger, leveraged buyout, LBO, limited liability company, LLC, limited liability partnership, LLP, limited partner, limited partnership, master limited partnership, MLP, merger partnership, S corporation, sole proprietorship, unlimited liability, vertical merger. Critical thinking. Imagine you are considering starting your own business. 1. What kinds of products or services will you offer? 2. What talents or skills do you need to run the business? 3. Do you have all the skills and resources to start the business? Or will you need to find one or more partners? If so, what skills would your partners need to have? 4. What form of business ownership would you choose? sole proprietorship, partnership, C corporation, S corporation, or LLC. Why? Putting principles to work. Purpose: to explore franchising opportunities and to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of a selected franchise. Exercise: go to the International Franchise Association website, franchise.org. 1. Use the search tool to find a franchise that has the potential of fulfilling your entrepreneurial dreams. Navigate to the profile of the franchise you selected. Explore the franchise's website if a link is available. Refer to the questions listed in Figure 5.9 in this chapter and assess the strengths and weaknesses of your selected franchise. 2. Did your search give you enough information to answer most of the questions in Figure 5.9? If not, what other information do you need and where can you obtain it? Page 140. Developing career skills. Key: team, analytic, communication, technology. 1. Research businesses in your area and identify sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, and franchises. Arrange interviews with managers using each form of ownership and get their impressions, hints, and warnings. If you are able to work with a team of fellow students, divide the interviews among team members. How much does it cost to start? How many hours do they work? What are the specific benefits? Share the results with your class. 2. Have you thought about starting your own business? What opportunities seem attractive? Choose someone in the class whom you might want for a partner or partners in the business. List all the financial resources and personal skills you will need to launch the business. Then, make separate lists of personal skills and the financial resources that you and your partners might bring to your new venture. How much capital and what personal skills will be needed beyond those you already have. Develop an action plan for needed capital. Let's assume you want to open one of the following new businesses. What form of business ownership would you choose for each and why? Explain your choices to the rest of the class. A. Video game rental store. B. Wedding planning service. C. Software development firm. D. Online store. Successful businesses continually change hands. Methods of change discussed in this chapter include mergers, acquisitions, taking a firm private, and using leveraged buyouts. Search for an article online that illustrates how one of these methods changed an organization. What led to the change? How did this change affect the company's stakeholders? What benefits did the change provide? What new challenges were created? 5. Find information online about a business cooperative, like for example Welch's, Land O'Lakes, and Sunkist. Research how it was formed, who can belong to it, and how it operates. Career exploration. Whether you choose to structure your business as a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, or LLC, you can operate in any industry you like. Here are a few with low startup costs to consider. Find out about the tasks performed, skills needed, and opportunity outlook in these fields in the Occupational Outlook Handbook, OOH, at bls.gov. Graphic design service creates visual concepts to communicate ideas that inspire, inform, and attract consumers. Develops the overall layout and production design for various applications such as advertisements, brochures, magazines, and corporate reports. Lawn care service makes sure the grounds of houses, businesses, and parks are attractive, orderly, and healthy.
Information Technology Support Services provides help and advice to people and organizations using computer software or equipment. Pet care service feeds, grooms, bathes, bathes, and exercises pets and other non-farm animals. Video case McGraw-Hill Connect, expanding the Halal Guys through franchising. Page 141.
Some new business owners are uncomfortable with the idea of starting from scratch. They would rather join a business with a proven track record. One of the ways to do that is through a franchise agreement. A franchise agreement is an arrangement whereby an established company licenses a franchisee the rights to operate a business using the trademarked branding, which includes goods or service models as well as marketing assets. Although the categories are growing, the most popular types of businesses for franchising are gas stations and restaurants, like the Halal Guys.
So it started first as a hot dog cart in Midtown Manhattan. Father had a hot dog cart first there, and then he met two of his friends, and they quickly realized there is a huge demand for halal food in the city.
Halal food is food that is prepared according to strict Islamic guidelines. The animals are raised and fed humanely right up to the slaughter process. Not finding any authentic halal food in Midtown, Muslim cab drivers had to drive all the way home, prepare their own meal, and then return to the city, an inconvenience for those living far outside Manhattan.
And that was the vision of my father and the founders, initially to serve these cab drivers.
The founders converted their hot dog cart to accommodate the demands of cooking halal food and changed their name to the Halal Guys. Almost immediately, customers appeared. Cab drivers lined up, and word of mouth, thanks to the cabbies, soon extended the lines even further. The owners realized their halal food cart had become a popular destination spot, an experience that brought people together.
People connect so deeply to the cart itself, to the community there, to the hospitality that they find within the cart itself.
The Halal Guys business grew rapidly. They needed to expand. Franchising was a good option.
There was a lot of hesitation back then when it came to us controlling the food quality, the consistency of the food, but we quickly realized that we could still go franchising, and with the right team in place, having the right people in place, we can keep the quality the same.
Initial sales of the franchise went to a very special group.
The first people started buying was our customers. Over the years, they always asked us when we're gonna franchise. And the minute we did, they were the first people to sign up. They have that passion for our food, for the brand, and that made them very, very successful franchisees.
To control quality, the franchisor insists on approving new franchisees who meet their standards.
The structure is put in place to guide the franchisee through the success of their operations of the restaurant. Each department is assigned to the franchisee to ensure that they're providing them the support that they need. Having that structure, ensuring that every department is there to support them, is very key.
Every franchise owner and the owner's team, including the general managers, operators, and staff, undergo a 4-week training program on-site in New York City. Here they experience the brand. They experience working at the street cart. They learn everything about the Halal Guys and what is needed to run and maintain a successful location. The support continues right up to the grand opening of a new franchise location.
We fly our teams, our trainers, our corporate operation team there to the franchisee location to prep them for the grand opening.
For us, grand opening begins before the grand opening day is established. We ensure that we have all the deliverables that franchisees are required to submit in place, as well as what else are we doing to enhance that grand opening plan. Whether it is from an operational standpoint or marketing standpoint, we will ensure that we are there to support the franchisee throughout that process.
Franchising does not come without challenges.
Franchising has been a learning experience for us here. From signing up with franchisees that thought that they can just open up doors and money will come pouring down, these will be considered absentee owners to us. And it just doesn't work that way. We've learned that we need to be more selective as to who we choose to franchise with us so that they can carry on the brand the way that it was envisioned by the owners when they first started franchising.
Despite the challenges, franchising has proven a wise decision. The Halal Guys have now expanded internationally, opening stores in South Korea, Indonesia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Honoring the past by ever moving forward, the Halal Guys are carrying on their legacy.
My vision for the future: take the Halal Guys brand everywhere in the world and be the best American halal brand anywhere.
This agreement whose goods are Halal Guys
Then
prepared a court town, cooking halal, soon extended the line, grew rapidly.
that can be always, and that makes
Put in place to guide the franchisee.
To control quality, the franchisor insists on approving new franchisees who meet their standards.
The structure is put in place to guide the franchisee through the success of their operations of the restaurant.
Franchisor to Muslim guideline.
I started first as a
Most popular is the rights to operate for franchise
gentleman for halal.
and can cab driver become a
Hospitality that they find within the cart itself.
the halal
More than 500,000 new businesses are launched in the United States every year, and unfortunately, a large number of the ventures go on to fail. As a result of this unpredictable environment, many aspiring entrepreneurs are uncomfortable with the idea of launching a company on their own. Rather than take that risk, these days, many prospective business owners are electing to open franchisees through companies with proven track records. In fact, 1 out of every 10 new businesses in the United States is a franchise, with the most popular types being gas stations, retail outlets, and restaurants. New York City's The Halal Guys has grown into one of the nation's fastest growing food franchises, but its founders got to that point by first taking the risk of going into business for themselves. The company got started in 1990 when CEO Ahmed Abul Linain's father and 2 friends decided to launch a food business in New York City. They started with a hot dog cart, but soon determined that halal food would be a better option. Halal food is prepared according to strict Islamic guidelines. Animals are raised and fed humanely up to the slaughter and then carefully prepared. Muslim cab drivers were the Halal Guys' first customers, but soon the company attracted the attention of many hungry New Yorkers. By 2009, it was not unusual for customers to wait more than 2 hours in line for a falafel sandwich or gyro. These long queues eventually grew into street destinations where customers could hang out, even once attracting a wedding party that stood in line and then took pictures. The Halal Guys continued growing at a furious pace. The owners wanted to expand and considered franchising from the start, but they were concerned about maintaining food quality among their franchisees. After all, if the food at the franchises did not live up to the standards that customers had come to expect, everything the Halal Guys had accomplished over the years could be lost. Despite these risks, in 2014, the company finally made the move to franchising almost 20 years after opening their first cart. In order to keep the quality of their food high, the owners of the Halal Guys were very selective in choosing their franchisees. In fact, many of their first locations were sold to frequent customers who could be trusted to maintain the brand. Nevertheless, the company faced plenty of challenges early on, as some initial franchisees quit and attempted
to become absentee owners, with many feeling like they could develop a better kitchen system than the halal guys. These breakaway operations did not match company standards, however, causing the halal guys to become even more selective in choosing franchisees. The halal guys requires new managers and staff to undergo a 4-week on-site training program in New York City. In this hectic environment, franchisees experience what it's like working at a busy street cart and learn what is required to manage and maintain a successful operation. On a franchisee's grand opening day, the top management team at the Halal Guys helps work the first shift to make sure that all of this training goes according to plan. This commitment to quality has allowed the company to expand globally into South Korea, Indonesia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. The franchise system has been called the greatest business model ever developed, allowing companies like the Halal Guys to build large corporate enterprises. Although franchising may not be the answer for every company, when you look at the success of businesses like McDonald's, Domino's, Holiday Inn, and other well-known franchises, its potential cannot be denied. Think it over. 1. Why do franchises like the Halal Guys have a lower failure rate than businesses started from scratch? 2. How is a franchise different from a partnership? 3. What important questions should you ask before becoming a franchisee in a company like the Halal Guys? Page 142, page 143, notes. Chapter 6, Entrepreneurship and Starting a Small Business, page 144.